when we did our freshman pictures, we were bald, dude. I looked like my head was like milk dud shaped, like legit. It was terrible. We still have the picture at my house. It's terrible.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
All right, we're all set on our end. We're recording. Corey, make sure you're recording.
I am recording.
All right, great. So we will cue the open in just 1 second. Have a good show, guys.
All right, thanks, Courtney.
Thank you.
This is Bleav in Georgia Dawgs podcast on the Bleav Podcast Network.
Scored a touchdown earlier on a direct snap. Now it's Michelle's turn, running all the way. Gets to the edge. Sonny Michelle will send the Dogs home to the championship game.
53.5-yard drive near hash, kick right, snap, hold, kick is away, it's reaching, and it is good, good, good. Hot Pod does it. All right, Hot Pod.
Wilcox with an up and out, wide open. Touchdown. Israel Troupe.
Welcome in. We are live on Brinks TV. This is the Bleav in Georgia Dawgs podcast on the Bleav Podcast Network, the #1 podcasting network for professionals. Joining me, as you just saw in the video clip, catching the touchdown. He is now on your screen to my right. It is Israel Troupe. What's up, Israel?
Man, what's going on, man? That is awesome. That's good to see. Playing for the national title. Winning our game last year, and of course the one touchdown that brought us back against Auburn. I think it was 2010, man. That's awesome. Great job by the staff and you, Corey, because, I'm not computer literate. I couldn't have done it. I'm just a football coach, but great job by our staff and you guys for putting that together, man. That's awesome.
Absolutely, and I appreciate it. I get the luxury of teaching AV production, so I mess around with all this video editing stuff anyway. So it was fun for me to try to put together. So, but I want to introduce, we have a very special guest, a teammate of yours, number 68 in your hearts, probably number 68 in your minds too, and on the roster and on the field. He is the host of the Upon Further Review podcast. It is Chris Burnett. Chris, what's up, man?
Corey, Israel, what's up? What's up? Thank y'all so much for having me. I appreciate it. I've checked out a few of y'all's episodes, so I'm happy to be on. I feel like I'm on PTI right now. This is official.
Yes.
So
yes.
Thank y'all for having me.
Absolutely.
Hey, the only thing I'm missing is a black and mild like my man Uncle Shay Shay. You welcome to Shay Shay's corner right now.
Yeah. Except I'm not Skip, so we're good, right?
Yeah.
I'm way better than Skip Bayless, so we have that at least, right? I'm not going to make any outrageous claims and say LaPrince James and all that stuff. So
right, yeah, no ridiculous hot takes and no hating on.
No hot takes LeBron here. Yeah, only lukewarm takes from me. So
don't say nothing about LeBron. Chris is a big LeBron fan now. Don't say nothing about LeBron.
What do you think about MJ?
What? I'm actually not a LeBron fan, but I do respect and appreciate LeBron. I'm not a LeBron hater. He's in my top 3 all time, but I'm not a fan.
Is MJ the GOAT?
No question.
Okay, good.
No question.
I was gonna have to check you a little bit if you didn't say that.
I respect it.
Chris, are you a Hawks fan?
You know what? I have become one. I grew up a Lakers fan. I really got into NBA basketball in the early 2000s, late 90s, so right after MJ retired. And I love Shaq. Shaq's my favorite player of all time. And so I was a Lakers fan from pretty much 2000 to about 2016, 2017. Okay. And, I think after living in Atlanta at that point for about 4 or 5 years, I felt like, let me adopt the home team. So
there you go. It's a good time to be a Hawks fan. just went up 1-0 in the Eastern Conference Finals. Man, I'm excited. But did you know that we're presented by BetOnline.ag? The month of June is heating up, guys. The Hawks are heating up. The Western Conference Finals is heating up. There's tons of exciting sports action. BetOnline is where you can find it, from baseball, from basketball to hockey playoffs and baseball's marquee matchups, including prop bets and futures. You can bet it on literally just about anything. BetOnline has all the latest odds, news, and information for all your online sports betting needs. So, Chris, head to the website today. Use your mobile device. Join. Receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first. So before the next tip-off, face-off, or pitch, head on over to BetOnline and start playing today. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. There's some interesting things over there. They have an online casino. Chris, I don't know if you're all about that or know anything about that, but it's a lot of fun to go there and just throw dollar bets on the blackjack table.
Man, I didn't know that. I didn't know anything like that existed.
Yeah. Well, BetOnline exists. I thought it was a myth too. And then I visited BetOnline.ag, and it's actually pretty fun. I'm about broken even, I guess. I've won a few, lost a few, and nothing really catastrophic. So I know, Israel, you're probably about the same.
Hey, I just bet on football. I hadn't really gotten toward the games and stuff on there yet, but I might over this period we have. I might have to get into it a little bit, because I keep hearing you talk about it, so I might have to get into it a little bit.
There you go. You two are going to have a beard off too, by the way. I want to see who has the biggest beard by December.
He's got me beat. He's got me beat all day. It just looks good because I'm on my back porch, and it's a little bit dark out here. So it looks like I'm fully bearded out, but I'm looking like Pat Adams over here. My man got me beat.
Yeah, you get the right lighting, man. It'll look real good.
Hey, look, that thing look good it looks good with his black shirt on underneath. Y'all better watch out for me.
That's right.
Dude, I guarantee you, if I grew a beard, I would look like an Irish rugby player.
Oh,
hey, nothing wrong with that.
It comes in like a deep red for some reason. And I'm not even a redhead. I just got a little bit of red in there, and it comes out red. It's pretty like I said, there's a Halloween one year I went as a Irish rugby player. And
I thought you was gonna say leprechaun.
I'm tall enough to be, right?
I was waiting for that.
Leprechaun. No, I didn't go to Notre Dame, so we're good.
Hey.
Well, as you can see from our sidebar, we got a great show for you guys. There's a lot going on in college football. Guys, Georgia's loaded, so it's a lot of exciting stuff to talk about. But the main thing I wanted to talk about, the main topic, we dive into positional breakdowns and really just kind of story time with our man Chris Burnett. I wanted to talk about this Supreme Court ruling that came down. I think it was late last week. I'm reading UGAsports.com. It was the National Collegiate Athletic Association versus Alston. They unanimously, in a 9-0 decision, the highest court in the land, ruled that college athletes cannot be prohibited from receiving benefits relating to their education. So, although they didn't officially wade in the waters as to whether colleges have a legal obligation to compensate athletes as employees, it did level its hammer on an organization that has had long advocated against pay-for-play concepts. So I think what that says is there's some loopholes. So like a program like Arizona State can maybe weasel their way out of some of the trouble that they found themselves in. Have you guys read much on this story? What are your thoughts on this?
I haven't read up on it to that extent. My first take was, as long as I look at it as a player like this, our kid's going to get in trouble now. Is how I took it. And as long as kids aren't getting in trouble, because Chris, you remember this when AJ, his own jersey,
yeah,
he signed it and sold it. That's all I'm worried about. Can a kid, as that jersey in his possession, it's not like he went and stole the jersey or anything like that. It's mine. It's my possession. If I get it signed and I sell it for however much money, am I gonna get in trouble? If I'm not gonna get in trouble, I'm good with it. That's all I'm worried. As long as that rule doesn't affect that, I'm okay with it. Because I don't think kids should be suspended for that. I really don't. It's theirs. It's just gonna sit in the box anywhere or get framed. So I mean, why not give it to somebody's kid might want it? You know what I mean?
That's right. I'm with you, Israel, man. I feel like I'm not necessarily someone who's advocating for college athletics to turn into a semi-pro league. But I do believe that any athlete, really any person, because, you know, it's an American right, that if you have something that has a demand tied to it and you have supply that you can provide, you should be able to benefit off of that without any restrictions or caps. And I think that's what I liked about this ruling, is that it didn't, you know, mandate you have to pay these players X amount of dollars to compensate for their effort or their work. Instead, it said, no, you got to stop putting a cap on it, because, you know, I had an internship, a paid internship, actually, my junior and senior year at UGA. I was a part of the National College Players Association. It was an unofficial players association for NCAA.
Now that might be official.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. And it was ran by Ramogi Huma. He graduated from UCLA, played linebacker, incredible man. And he had some great ideas to kind of advocate for more of player, you know, just autonomy. And I remember I made $400 a month. And I think it was capped at that because I couldn't go over a certain amount of compensation per year without being declared ineligible. And if I were to rewind the clock and was actually doing that internship now with this ruling, I could have made, you know, money worth what the amount of time I was putting into it.
Yeah, market value.
Exactly. Yeah, whatever market value was. And I think that can just go a long way to be able to say, hey, I can get compensated the way like a normal person might for the amount of work you put in. So
yeah, I mean, it's all about market value, capitalism, things like that. I mean, just getting, you know, if college football is $1 billion business, right? Players should be compensated and compensated fairly and not have to suffer any consequences. And, you know, I think it's a great thing that they ruled this way, because I think it opens the door. Now, we got to be careful to make sure it doesn't get too out of hand, because it definitely could, because in college football, you have haves and have not programs. Like the NFL, it's all equal, right? They have salary caps. They have things in place, protocols in place to ensure that it doesn't get out of hand one way or the other. And I think college football needs to find something similar to where it's not Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, Ohio State, USC running the whole thing. And, you know, you give programs that don't quite have as much a chance to also equally pay players. But I think when you have the amount of athletes, it'll all equal out somewhere down the line. But I think there does need to be some sort of regulations that put in place to kind of organize it, because it could get really out of hand really quickly. And that's one of the pitfalls that I see. And the Supreme Court decision, I think, goes hand in hand with the name, image, likeness rules and things like that. So there was a story that I saw that a former coworker of mine when I worked at Rivals, Mike Farrell, wrote about the pitfall of the NIL. You know, some of the things, some of the side effects that might happen, some things that I saw that I noticed that these are legitimate concerns if they don't get some things in order. So one of the things was like lawsuits, right? Lawsuits, transfer portal increases, players possibly sitting out as like hey, I played 2 years. I'm not going to risk it. I've made enough money. You know, we got to watch out for and manage agents in college football, player coach disputes, locker room disruption, conflicts of interest, things like that. I'm going to go to the locker room thing. Let's say that you have a quarterback that gets a ton of money, right? He gets a sponsorship deal from Mercedes-Benz. How is that going to play, Chris, in the locker room when, like, let's say you're an offensive lineman and you're getting, let's say you're getting Zaxby's. No, let's say no. What's the burrito place?
Barbaritos.
Yeah, Barbaritos. There you go. I drew a blank. So let's say you get like a small deal, like 500 from Barbaritos, and your boy Joe Cox gets a deal from Mercedes-Benz that pays him $5,000 a month. Like, do you think that would cause a lot of disruption in the locker room? Like, hey, why is Joe getting this and I'm only getting this? And, what do you think would happen there?
I don't think it would cause a disruption at all. Honestly, this is just my opinion. And honestly, I appreciate that, Corey. You gave me probably more clout than I deserve. Barburritos is solid in Athens.
It is.
I would probably have like Bud Hut or something. That'd probably be my sponsorship. But I feel like it wouldn't cause any issue because going into it, I think everyone already kind of had not necessarily a monetary value assessed to them or assigned to them that they were receiving, and it was specific, like a Benz deal or a Lexus deal or something like that. But everybody knew, like, an Aaron Murray or AJ Green or Todd Gurley were just higher value players than a Chris Burnett. So, and I think that everyone was okay with that. That just kind of comes with the territory. And if you want to have more, I think, exposure per se, then just be better. But that's just my opinion. And I didn't feel like there was much jealousy, at least not that I kind of came in contact with when I was playing. It was more so like, man, we're on a team together. We're grinding together. We're, blood, sweat, and tears with one another and creating bonds. And there would always be, some of those other, conflicts that you have. But I don't think it would be anything outside of what already exists, if I'm being honest.
What about within your position group? So like Israel, let's say you're sitting in that wide receiver room. Obviously AJ's the premier guy, right? And he's getting, let's say he gets the big deal. And then, you get, what'd you say, Chris? Butt Hut? Let's say you get Butt Hut, right? and TK gets gets Zaxby's, and you get Classic City, is there competition within the wide receiver room to see who can get the biggest or the most deals? Like, how do you think that's going to shake out? Like within each position group?
And what's crazy, like Chris said, when we all played, we were all together. I lived in the house with Brandon Boykin and Sanders Cummings, so obviously those guys in this day and age would get more, than I got, and we knew that, but we were so close as a group that stuff didn't bother us. At the end of the day, if Chris got Mercedes-Benz, Chris was going to have a party at his house and we was all going to get together, and that's just how we were, in the day, this day and age with social media, that's what's going to make it bad, because they're going to do all this stuff with commercials or, sponsors and all this stuff. And social media is going to blow it out the water for them. But when we played, we didn't have all that stuff. It was just starting to come about. But, I mean, we were so close, that stuff like that wouldn't have even bothered us because it really and honestly would have been a joke in the locker room. It would have been like, man, you're getting all this money, man. Why you worry about this? Things like that. We just laughed it off. It was never a point of where I was jealous of another person, things like that.
Gotcha. Now, what about the transfer portal? Like, do you guys see or foresee an increase in the transfer portal even more so than now with guys just leaving to try to, leaving places to try to go to other cities and get deals?
I think so, honestly. I don't know how much of an increase there could be, but I'm one of the guys who kind of hates that the transfer portal is as prevalent as it is now. Yeah. Not because I don't believe that players should have the autonomy to be in the right situation. Like if coaches can leave their circumstance and go somewhere else, or if a traditional student can leave their circumstance and go somewhere else, and then what difference should that be for a student athlete? But I guess from just a teammate perspective, it bothers me a little bit because I'm like, man, those bonds, those relationships, just kind of grinding it out, like there's value in that from a character standpoint. And I don't know how much, potential money could play a role in guys doing that more. But I just see it so much more prevalent than it was when we were playing. And it wasn't that long ago, which is just kind of the crazy
thing. I was just telling my kids today, I said, I didn't even know there was a transfer portal. I had no clue until recently that there was even a transfer portal. If I'd have transferred from Georgia, Chris would have never gave me my first cut in the dorms, and that's just the bond that we had, and then, you think about this. in my opinion, like Chris said, I think that you will see a little bit more, but you're not going to see very much. For instance, take Valdosta State down here in Valdosta. They're a really, really good football team. If those kids can do what they're supposed to do, there's a lot of money in Valdosta. Those kids aren't going to transfer, So if you do what you're supposed to do and, keep your nose clean and things like that, you're going to reap the benefits from that. I think, in my opinion, off of player likeness and all that stuff, I think you're going to get a lot of guys that aren't going to get in these little troubles anymore. You aren't going to see their names in the paper. You're not going to see them, getting in trouble at bars and all that good stuff. Because why? You understand there's little kids and things watching you now. So the first thing they want is, hey, I want a Chris Burnett jersey. Well, if Chris Burnett got arrested, this year during the summer, parents are going to be less likely to buy that jersey. They're still going to support him, but there's going to be a less chance of them buying that jersey a little bit more. So now that they're getting paid, and here's the thing: that the first thing that they're going to say is, "Oh, they're getting paid now. I'm not buying that jersey." That's the first thing they're going to say when you get in trouble. So I think you're going to see a lot of guys not get in trouble so much anymore, kind of sit still, because you got to think, even though you're at a smaller school, if you ball out, they're going to find you. They're going to find you. You're going to reap the benefits from it too. Because if you go from a smaller school to a bigger school, or you swapping schools, these people don't know who you are. Yeah. It's going to take them a while. They might have heard of you when you was this little 5-star and you was in high school. But we ain't in high school no more, baby. Yeah. We in the big leagues. And you got to perform. If you perform, you get paid. If you just meet people, you get paid.
Absolutely. And I know we're not officially reading their ad this week, but if I'm Moinkbox, I'm going to find, because they have the best bacon on the market, I'm going to find the top offensive lineman, and I'm supporting him. So
that's right.
I think that with the transfer portal thing, it's just, I just don't think guys are as close now than they were even back when you guys were playing. I think people are just,
social media has ruined that now.
Social media, everybody's about their brand, things like that. But I do think you hit the nail on the head about guys acting better and acting right, getting more in line, because once you hit that wallet, that hits hard. So the Scooter Mafia in Athens is going to, they're going to take it down a couple notches, right? You can't be getting
shirts now.
They're going to have to wear shirts, and you can't get busted emerging from an alley. So, which is the dumbest arrest I've ever seen in my entire life, emerging from an alley. I read that and laughed out loud and going, really? Come on, Athens, better than that. But I think, the transfer portal is going to increase anyway, because that's a way to get your 15 minutes of fame, is enter the transfer portal, make your graphic on social media and say, respect my decision, I'm playing. So do you guys see any other pitfalls? Like here's one I see, okay? And I'll just ask the question, just answered it myself. But, Chris, Georgia's a Nike school, right? What if Adidas comes to you and says, Chris, we'd like to strike a deal? How do you think that's going to play out in college? Do you think it plays out a lot like it does in the NFL, where if you're wearing official Georgia apparel, it's got to be Nike, but you can wear the peripherals that are Adidas?
It could. I feel like you said, there's a formula for it. And it's already been done. And I feel like if guys were to make that type of decision, they could, like you said, have the peripherals be whatever, sponsor or branding that they have. I feel like they would have, probably similar to the NFL, they have just some certain restrictions that they have in place. Like they used to say, you can't have a certain color shoe, or you can't have X, Y, and Z. You can't have your socks a certain way. I feel like college football will just implement more of those that are specific to that type of branding, and they could make it work at the end of the day. If they really put the thought into it, I truly believe that they could.
Most definitely. I think at the same time, like you said, since Georgia's a Nike school and I signed with Adidas, I think they'll have it in there to where as long as you're doing anything affiliated with your team, it's all Nike. Outside of anything with team, you can wear whatever you want to.
Right.
You can wear Adidas all day, but as long as you're in that locker room, you're on the field, you're Nike all day. So I think there's an easy fix for that without it being a big disruption or anything like that. Just don't wear Adidas on the field. Georgia's a Nike school. Wear Nike on the field. Outside of the school, you can wear
whatever you want. Shoes? What about shoes? Like you're an Adidas guy.
Yeah.
Do you wear Adidas shoes?
Yeah, you got when you're in that locker room, you're on the field, Nike. Outside of that, Adidas. I'm not an Adidas shoe guy. although Adidas, I mean, I ain't gonna be mad if you hook your ball up. Just saying.
Yeah.
But
You're a Nike guy, I think, Israel.
But I'm a Nike guy. But hey, Adidas, hit us up. I ain't gonna be upset.
Yeah,
but
I'll rock the 3 stripes. We're good.
But exactly, but it's outside the field house, outside, he wear Adidas all day.
Mm-hmm. Chris, do you see any other
that's a good point.
Do you see any other potential pitfalls with the NIL? Do you see anything that's concerning? Like, we'll pump the brakes. We got to figure some of these things out.
You know, I think the biggest one for me is just the potential pitfall of, like you said, it becoming like a semi-pro league, and you lose some of that kind of loyalty that comes along with these schools and the programs and the tradition and all that kind of stuff, where guys are becoming more and more individualized.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I think the pros outweigh the cons. I do think that the part of the beauty of what makes college football is, I probably have a bigger problem with the potential of them expanding the college football playoff than I do any other rule that could change. And not because I don't love more football, but because I'm of the ilk that, man, you're adding more and more games and you're finding ways for those players to be compensated. But I know that the NCAA used to make a point to keep sports in one semester in order to allow the student part of the student athlete title to still be prevalent for those students in that other semester. And if you have a specific, class or specific major that you're trying to accomplish, it's going to get more and more difficult to, implement those types of classes that you may need if your sport bleeds into multiple semesters. Because, I was a finance major, and there were certain finance classes that I could not take during the season because the class took place during practice. And I would just take them in the spring, and it was a lot easier. So I feel like that could just become probably the biggest problem outside of, the whole NIL ruling, is if they expand the playoffs and it just becomes more and more games, because they're saying, hey, y'all are getting paid anyway. So we can make it a 15-game season, 16-game season, and kind of use that as the crutch. It's like, you're getting paid now, so we need to expand this. And I think it just hurts the student part of the student athlete type.
Okay, well, let's pivot to that then. I know it's not on our rundown, but let's go ahead and pivot to the playoff expansion. I've always been in favor of it because, I think that you give more teams a shot, and I think it helps recruiting overall. And I think the FCS and Division II and Division III have shown us how to navigate around the academic calendar and get FCS does a 16-team playoff. They play all their games before Christmas, and then they play the semifinal and final after Christmas, which, you have this whole month-long bowl break. You could sneak in a couple of games there and then play the championship like they normally do, right after New Year's or right around New Year's, right before you go back. So I think that the calendar, they can shift it around and work. You can have conference championships, and then if you don't get a first round bye, you play the next week. And then you're either done or you move on, and then you play, and then you take a little bit longer of a break, and then you play the national championship or the national semifinal like they do now, where they play the semifinal game, and then a week later they play the national championship. So I think with the calendar, it could work. You could still have your finance class in the spring. I don't think you would miss anything.
That's a good point,
I think it'd be done before it even got finished and on the road. So for that reason, I think the NCAA has already kind of figured that out. Now they just got extrapolated over to the FBS. What I love about it is the playoff expansion. There's more details that I read about, that they're going to take the 6 highest ranked conference champions, right? And and just because you win your conference doesn't give you an automatic bid. You have to and this puts I think this puts importance on the regular season. So not only do you have to win your conference, but if you're a 4-loss conference champion and you're not ranked, you're not guaranteed to get in. You probably won't, because there'll be other teams that are playing better that do get in. So they're going to take the 6 highest ranked conference champions. So that would have under that format, obviously you would have Clemson, you would have Alabama, you would have Oklahoma, and you would have had Cincinnati as your top 4 conference champions. Those 4 teams would have gotten buys, right? No, Ohio State, not Ohio State. Ohio State and Oklahoma. Those 4 teams would have gotten buys. Cincinnati would have definitely got in. A&M would have got in. A&M would have probably been the 5 seed. Oklahoma would have been probably the 6 seed, and then on down the list. You would have probably had Coastal and Cincinnati in the playoff. And I think Florida would have made it, which would have been interesting. And I think Iowa State had a chance of making it. Northwestern had a chance of making it. They were in the mix. Notre Dame would have definitely been in there. I don't know if they would have done any better, but they would have been in there for sure. And maybe Georgia would have had a shot. I think Georgia would have had a shot of being in there last year, and they were about as red hot as anybody. So to me, I think you get in, you win, right? It doesn't matter. And one of the questions I'm going to pose to you guys, and I'm pretty sure I can predict the answer here, but let's say you have a 1-loss team, and then you have an undefeated team in the SEC championship, right? Let's say you're ranked 2 and 3 in the country, all right? And there's 1 loss separating you two. The 1-loss team beats the undefeated team. Does the undefeated team deserve a bye?
No.
Chris?
If the 1-loss team beats you after you lose, no.
Yeah.
The winner wins.
Yeah,
exactly.
You win your conference. That's the incentive. I had somebody tell me that they would still like they used Bama and Georgia as the example. Like, let's say Bama was undefeated, Georgia had 1 loss, Georgia beats Bama. Just they thought Bama should still get the bye, and I was like, no, you're full.
I beat you. I beat you head to head.
Yeah,
I beat you head to head.
I bet
you're right.
And I got the trophy. So you can, if you're good enough, take that 5 seed, host the 12 seed, and come on, and we'll see you in the Natty. But I just wanted to ask that because I felt like that was a ridiculous scenario that this person provided for me.
Some people just need to be quiet sometimes. They ain't real smart.
Yeah, unfortunately, right.
Especially in that situation, you want a head to head. We just want a head to head battle, but you're gonna give the loser. The
loser gets screwed and has to play the next week.
That makes sense.
Or the winner gets screwed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes no sense. But no, you posed some great you gave some great points there, Corey, on reason for expanding it, because I've been against it because of that bleeding into the next semester, but also just a concern of the value of the regular season. I just love the fact that every game matters, where it feels like if you're someone who's not SEC or ACC in certain years, and if you don't go undefeated, you're not getting a shot. But also, like you said, it does hurt those teams who are clearly more talented and have the ability to, like a Georgia last year, who probably would have done well in an extended playoff. But I don't know. I guess I'm just too much of a purist when it comes to what I grew up watching. I feel like I'm a little too old school sometimes. And then when things change, I'm like, oh man, this was a great idea. I'm glad that they went against what I thought. So,
and I'll be honest, I kind of shook my head going, oh my God, they're going to get this wrong again. But then I started reading. I was like, wait a minute, this could work. So I kind of talked myself into it. And Israel, I know we've talked about it before. I think you and me and Dane talked about it, but I think it can only help recruiting. I mean, I think that, schools like Georgia, Ohio State, Clemson, they don't really need that much help, but I think it helps, places like Texas A&M, Northwestern, Iowa State, UCLA, USC doesn't really need help, but Oregon doesn't really need a whole lot of help. But, some of these fringe teams that could use the extra bump of saying, hey, we have a shot at the college football playoff of making it in if we finish in the top 12, or if we finish as one of the 6 highest ranked non-conference champions, we have a chance. We just got to get inside the top 15. We have a chance. And so some of that exposure, is great, but then you got to play well when you get there to uphold that.
Got to get advanced. You got to advance. You got to play well in advance.
Yep, and you can't go there. Because
I would have loved to see that black swarm defense from Coastal.
Yes,
just go in, and I would have loved to see them. You know, just a shot, see what they can do. You know, they held their own for the whole season. You know, and I'm always fighting for the little guys. You know, one of my best friends, he's a tight end coach. You know, at Coastal. So you know, I want to see them get in just because they were hot going in, and you can see it. They were clicking, and you never know what might happen once you get in. So you know, I'm always advocating for the little guys getting in, and to your point, I believe that in my heart of hearts, if you expand it enough to where each team could possibly have a chance to get in, there's a chance that you'll quit guys from bailing, from sitting out, because all right, we already know these 4 teams are going to be in it, so whatever. You know, well, now they expanded it, so now that gives, all right, there's another shot that we might be able to get in. Now, you got to also think, too, player likeness now. If you quit on your team, and we've seen it before, of people who sit out, when you sit out, then people start talking to you, talking on Twitter, them Twitter fingers get to moving, them sales going to go down. So now with the expanded playoffs and all that good stuff now, people are going to start staying. These players are going to start, you know, finishing out the season, things like that, because why? Once you quit, then people, why is he sitting out? And then all of a sudden, your little jersey is going to go downhill. So I think you're going to get a lot of guys that's going to continue to keep playing because I get paid. People know who I am. Well, I'm just going to ride this thing on out now. And I got a chance to make it to the playoffs. I think you're going to see a lot of that go down. I hope.
Yeah. And you know Barbaritos is going to have a playoff incentive, right? You know, they're going to.
Oh, yeah, and Butt Hut.
Right.
And Butt Hut, yeah. So, Butt Hut is going to give Israel extra whatever for making the playoffs. So but yeah, I think there's a lot of good to come from it, and we may finally see Notre Dame join a conference. That's also a benefit. Notre Dame, if you're listening, join the ACC. Just do it. Okay, just get it over with. Join the ACC, because they said also that independents are not eligible for a first round bye.
They need to go on. They need to go on and play and get Notre Dame out of anyway. So we all know what's going to happen.
Yeah. So if Notre Dame finishes number 1 in the country, they get no bye.
Yeah, don't make them. They're going to be out anyway. So.
Yeah.
We all know.
The best they can do is 5. So they better join.
Yeah. We all know.
Yeah. Notre Dame, you're done. Right. Join a conference. So let's pivot. Right. And you can follow us at Bleav in Dawgs on all social media platforms. You can see it scrolling on the bottom on our neat new set here. You can follow Israel at TroupeStar8 on all social media platforms. You can follow me at Coach Burton36 on Twitter, at Burton.Corey on Instagram. Chris, where can we find you?
Yeah, you can find me at Chris Burnett 68 on both Twitter and Instagram.
I saw that you got a blue check, man. You're the best one of all of us. You would definitely get the Mercedes Benz. I would probably get I don't even know. Probably get Raising Cane's, and then Israel would get Butt Hut. So
you know, I'm a Chick-fil-A guy. I'm a Chick-fil-A guy. So I work at Chick-fil-A now at the support center. But I hope no one at Chick-fil-A hears this, but I love Raising Cane's. It's so good.
Yeah,
I was about to say Raising Cane's on the corner in Athens, baby.
Man,
it used to go down.
It's elite. Raising Cane's is elite.
Second to none. But Chick-fil-A, I love me some Chick-fil-A, man. If we could hire Chick-fil-A workers to handle a lot of our logistics, we would never have. Our country would be the most efficient country in the history of the world.
That's right. The team members are unbelievable. They do so much great work. And they're really the star of the show. Like, people don't realize, like, the operators of the individual restaurants, like, they do incredible work in the community. But the reason why people have, like, those warm and fuzzies when they think about Chick-fil-A and enjoy the food that they eat or just enjoy the ambiance and the environment is because of those team members. So they're the real deal. I'm right there with you.
It's outstanding. But let's talk about the 2021 Dogs, right? Team is loaded, Chris. And I know you and Brandon have probably talked about it. We've got several transfers. I know Brandon's probably excited about the DBs coming in, Tyke Smith, Brandon Turnage, Darion Kendrick. I know you're excited about what's happening on the offensive line. What do you see just from a 30,000-foot view? What do you see this team? What is the outlook? What are the expectations in your mind for this year's Georgia team?
You know, I don't know what Kirby is doing behind the scenes when it comes to recruiting, but just keep doing it, please, because I have never seen anything like it. Like the level of talent that consistently, you know, commits to come to Athens has been probably the most impressive part of Kirby's tenure. And, you know, like you said, Corey, this season they are loaded across the board. I think the past few years, the biggest concern has been, you know, the man under center. And I think last year we finally answered that question with JT Daniels. And I think what he brings to the table sets the table. You know, the years when I was at Georgia and we were, you know, really knocking on the door to the national championship with Aaron Murray as a quarterback, I think I realized that more and more, especially with the nature of the game now and how fast-paced it is, how, you know, much more of the game happens in the air and less on the ground. There's more emphasis on the offense, being able to score and less on defense with the rule changes. And so I feel like if you have a great quarterback, you're always going to have a chance every single Saturday. So really the key, and obviously I'm biased when it comes to this, is keeping that guy on the center upright. And you can't find too many teams across the country with better talent than Georgia. And also I think we have great coaching as well. But when it comes to just pure talent, just athletic ability, you know, technique, hand placement, knee bend, ankle bend, you know, intelligence to know what to do. There's not very many teams with the well-rounded kind of group that we have at Georgia. You know, I love Jamar Salyer, just his ability to, you know, play multiple positions. I know that's going to serve him well at the next level. That's like one of the key points for him. And I know he's kind of eyeing that. And I know that that's important to a lot of those guys to kind of do as best they can to potentially get to that next level. And when you have the weapons that you have in the backfield and when you just have that guy at quarterback who can make receivers get open, he will throw them open. I feel like that's the key. And I'd be shocked if Georgia does not win the East. And I would probably bet, if there were odds, I would probably bet that they win the SEC. And all of us here know if you win the SEC.
BetOnline.ag.
Yeah, exactly.
Hit that future. I think they're plus 7,000 to win the national championship, if that tells you anything. So, going back on your points about the offensive line, you know, I know that's the biggest key. There's a lot. Like the offensive line is super talented, but I think the continuity of the group. I think you have some new parts in there. You know, obviously Sawyer coming back is huge, and you know Justin Schaefer coming back is huge. But you're going to have 2 new tackles, right? And you're likely going to have a new center. Well, actually, you are going to have a new center because Trey Hill's gone. Yeah. So when it comes to group continuity and trying to find the right pieces, how long does that take for them to adjust to game speed and playing with each other and trusting each other and pass pro, run fits, things like that? How long does that typically take?
In my opinion, not long. I think if you have an intelligent group, you can figure it out pretty quickly. Like prime example would be 2011 going into 2012. 2011, that offensive line we had was Cordy Glenn, Kenarius Gates, Ben Jones, myself, Justin Anderson. We lost 3 of those guys, and then we moved Kenarius Gates to another position. And you would think, man, that offensive line.
Y'all moved him outside, didn't you? You moved him from guard to tackle.
Yeah, we moved him to tackle. Yeah. That's right. And you would your immediate response would be that team is going to do worse. There's going to be issues with continuity. That team's not as big or as talented as the group before. But we had Todd Gurley and Keith Marshall, and you had the weapons, and you had Aaron Murray to kind of orchestrate. And I think as long as you have a group of guys who are, like you said, Corey, able to trust one another. And I think a lot of the trust doesn't come from ability. It comes from knowing what to do. If I know what the guy next to me knows what to do, I'm going to build that kind of that chemistry way faster than like, man, I know my left tackle, he can shut down anybody if he gets in a one-on-one pass pro situation, but I'm not sure if he's going to know to block that guy. Then it creates those issues. So as long as they're intelligent and they know what they're doing and they kind of harp on that, and I think a lot of that is on Jamari and the older offensive linemen to kind of harp on it along with the coach. But I'm not too worried about it because I think they wouldn't be 5-stars if they weren't smart guys. That's just my opinion, at least.
Amarius Mims, does he walk in? Is he starting game 1 in Charlotte against Clemson?
I'm not sure. There's so much talent. Like I feel like so often there's guys who come in and have the ability and the talent to play day one. But again, it all literally just goes back to not only the trust you have with your teammates, but the trust that the coaches have in you. Right. And I there were guys I played with at Georgia who were way more talented than me. I was the second smallest lineman we had on the team. But because I knew what to do, that was able to get me on the field. So that's the only thing. Like talent-wise, he's there. He can start. He could probably, within a year or two, be a guy who could start in the NFL as long as he knows what to do.
Yeah, that's it. I love talking to offensive linemen because what you just said is the same thing I tell my offensive linemen today. I say, guys, y'all are smart. I mean, you guys got to work together, communicate. Those little things like that, especially when you play an offensive line, y'all the first point of attack.
That's right.
Be tough. Just little things like that to where offensive line is hard. It's hard. You don't get credit. You don't do anything like that. But at the end of the day, I tell my guys, I'm going to make sure you get credit. I'm going to feed you. We can do pool parties, whatever y'all want to. As long as you, I say, playing offensive line is brotherhood. Y'all go to the trenches together. Y'all go to trenches. And Chris, y'all in the trenches together. Y'all hated Coach Searle and all that stuff.
That's right.
So, and then that brought you closer, and you reap the benefits from that. So, I mean, if this offensive line can do the same thing with the talent and the size that they have, with those horses we got in the backfield and the weapons we got out wide, it could be the potential to be something special. They remind me a lot of y'all's class, that 2012 season. And I hate to bring it up from the SEC championship game against Alabama right there. They remind me a lot of y'all. They really do. We had talent everywhere. Good up front, talent out wide, great running backs. You know what I'm saying? They remind me a lot of them. Yeah. So it's going to be something special to see as long as they can start clicking.
Yeah, and they're going to get that test early. Yeah.
I'm right there with you. They definitely have an upgrade in talent at right guard, though. That's all I know. If we compare the two from 2012 and 2021, I definitely say that right guard spot's probably better off than it was then.
No, big dog, you good, baby.
No,
you good. Come on, man.
We need 68 back. We need to get you back for at least one more year so we can rock solid that right guard spot.
Man, I got about one good play left in me, man. I got one good play.
That's one more than me, right? So yeah, I think it's gonna be a fun year, to be honest with you. Just looking at this team from afar. Israel and I are going to get into more of position by position breakdowns. We just did the offensive line, really. But we're going to get into schedule breakdowns, things like that. So we're going to, we're really going to try to look at our opponents and have some, I guess, scouting the opponent segments where we bring in guys from other Bleav hosts from different schools. Like we have a Kentucky guy that we're good with, Vinny Hardy, Kyler Kerberson from Tennessee. Things like that. We have a Bleav in Vandy host, Matt Perkins and Ryan Seymour. Ryan Seymour is a guard that played at Vandy, I think, same time you were there. He played in the NFL for a little while. Him and Israel were trading hunting stories until Israel's phone went out because he was hog hunting down in Adel. So
I was in the woods.
literally in the woods. So, Chris, let's get into some story time. I know you guys overlapped a little bit. Let's get into some story time, right? What was that welcome to the SEC moment for you?
Oh wow, man. I would say the welcome to the SEC moment for me was that 2011 season. So 2009 was my freshman year. I redshirted. 2010, I was a guy who had an opportunity to play as a redshirt freshman, but before the season started, I dislocated my patella and missed that whole season. So 2011, my redshirt sophomore year, was the first year I actually played. My first game was the Chick-fil-A kickoff game against Boise State. Shout out Chick-fil-A. And we got to the second game, and we're playing South Carolina at home. Clowney's a true freshman. He's a guy everyone is kind of, clamoring about, like, man, this dude is the real deal. He's a real deal. And I remember going into that game after playing terrible against Boise State and kind of making a concerted effort to say, I do not want to get punked today. So I was like, I don't care if I don't know exactly what to do. If I play hard and I don't get punked, that's a success. And I cannot remember this guy's name for the life of me. But he was playing defensive tackle. He was strictly the three technique. So anytime, we were doing a run play in his direction, or we were doing a pass pro and the sort was going to the opposite side, it was me and him, mano a mano. He was a senior. I was a sophomore. And I remember it was, a pretty significant play getting, towards the end of the game. And we had to do we had to run power. And I had Justin Anderson playing next to me. And anybody who knows Justin, he's one of the best, we call him Bean, one of the best run blockers I've ever seen, period. Like, it's not even a question. College, pro, whatever, one of the best run blockers I've ever seen. And on that play, for whatever reason, we checked out of it. It went from a power to a run play, to a zone play. And I had this guy, mano a mano, and in my mind, I'm just reiterating, don't get punked, don't get punked. And thank God I got as low as I could in my stance. I came off, got a good get off and got some good traction on him and was able to put him down. And I'll never forget that moment, because I think up until that point, I just was not sure if I was good enough to play SEC football. And that was a moment where, like, okay, this isn't the best player. This isn't Jadeveon Clowney. This isn't, anyone who you would write home about. But this is a guy who's older than you. This is a guy who's seasoned. This is a guy who starts for another SEC school. And you were able to do what you can do against him. And that was really like a moment for me. It's not a play that anyone would even care about because we probably only got like 3 yards on the play. But for me, like, that was significant because it kind of reiterated, you know what, you're not in over your head. You're not too small to play at this level. You can do your thing as long as you stay focused.
Follow-up question. What was film session like on that whenever y'all watch film?
You know what? That year, this was after Cyril's left, and Coach Friend was the new offensive line coach. And he would kind of make it a point that if we lost the game, we didn't watch the film. We just kind of moved on. He gave us the grade. He said, this is what you did. This is where you did wrong. Like, we would go back through and redo the plays, but we didn't go back and watch it. But I do remember being grateful because after the Boise game, he kind of pulled me aside and was like, I believe in you, right? But you played terrible. I think I had like 6 missed assignments. And I'm not the type of guy who would make those types of dumb mental mistakes. But I think I was just – my hair was on fire. I had never played in a game in college before. And I'm playing on national TV in the first game. Like, I was freaking out.
Yeah.
Power Ranger
outfits
on.
I was at that game. I remember leaving going, what in the hell did I just watch? So, hey, the uniforms, be honest with me, okay? And both of you can attest to this. When you walk in the locker room and you see those Power Ranger uniforms, Israel, I'll start with you. What was your thoughts? Now, be honest. Now don't be like, oh, yeah, they were cool. No, be honest. Like, if you hated them, like, what did you think?
I honestly loved everything except the helmet design. I loved the way they looked. The shoes, everything that came with it was great. I loved everything except for the helmet. we knew that something was going on. We thought we were going to wear black jerseys, honestly. That's what we thought. But then we got in there, and we look and we see these cranberry colored jerseys. We're like, what's going on? But then we see, Boise comes out and they're in the white. We're like, oh, okay, we're good now. But after that, we knew it was a ball game, but we all know how that game went. I don't want to talk about it. But it was a great experience. Like I said, I love everything about the jersey. Matter of fact, I have the jersey hung up, now. So I loved it, but the helmet design was just a little bit off for me. Yeah. And we all know what happened during that game. So, and then like Chris alluded to, we lost the first two. It was my senior year. We lost the first two. After that, we ran off 10 straight.
That's right.
And that just shows, how close we were as a group. We had a great young class that came in. It was only a few of us left from the 2007 class that came in that year, that stayed. So that's just how close we were. We could have easily faltered, after going, where we go, 6 and 7 the first year. I mean, the year before. And starting out 0-2, and the way we started out 0-2, we could have easily just gave up, but we didn't. We rounded off 10 straight, beat Florida, and then next thing you know, we're in the NCAA championship game. So, that's just the test. Yeah, that's just the test of, how close. I mean, we were like this. We were so close, and and we're all still close. We all crack up and tell jokes to each other on Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff too. We all got married and got babies and stuff now, so we're all fathers. So I mean, and that's what football's about. And I'll go back in a heartbeat right now just to play with my boys one more time. Just because that's how much fun we had. We didn't have Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat back then. Yeah. It was just us cracking jokes in the locker room.
Right.
I can see Brian Evans right now. Brian and all them boys. Rashad, all them boys just cracking jokes. B Wood, all of them. That's just what we were. We all had fun.
What made it so close though? Like what was the thing that like? Because I know there's always that one thing, or is it just all of a sudden it just worked? It's just one of those things that just worked. What was it? Was it anything you can point to that just said, hey, this is what brought us together? It was just welcoming. It was one of those situations where the older guys, when I got there, Thomas Brown was there, Brandon Miller, all them guys were there, Keelan Johnson. So that's when I first got there, and they were welcoming. It wasn't like, oh, it's just fresh, as I say, fresh meat. No, Coach did a good job of splitting the rows up. So me and Keelan was on the road, and everybody got to know each other. It wasn't just receivers on one side, DBs, all that stuff. Everybody had to intermingle with one another, Mm-hmm. So same thing when Chris and them got there, we was all welcome. Man, what's up? What's going on? What you need? How can I help you? Stuff like that. So, now, and I'm not saying that is bad by any means, but now with the invention of this iPhone, cell phone, things like that, talking to each other is out the window. I'll Snapchat you now. You know what I mean? I'll Snapchat you from next to you. I'm so 28, you're 29. I'm
yeah. We had to talk to one another, and that's what we did. When you talk to each other, you get to know each other. And once we got to know each other, it was like, all right, that's my boy. We going to work, we going to war. We're all still brothers. We're all still dogs at the end of the day. So, that bond never leaves.
That's real. And Israel, I speak to both. Like Corey, you don't understand, man. When they came out, when Brandon and Aaron came in that room with those Power Ranger jerseys on, that room exploded because we were so happy we were finally gonna wear something different. Like we had been complaining about it. We were watching people on TV with all these, they had camouflage jerseys and all this other stuff, and a lot of us were recruited during the time frame when the black jerseys were like the thing. Mm-hmm. And so we were like, dog, can we do something different, please? And so when that happened, we were so excited, and I'm with you, Troupe. Like I loved it in the moment, but the thing that I look back on is I felt like the cuts of the clothing and the shoes and stuff was just off. It was something off. Like my cleats felt too big. My pants were like a little too big. My jersey was so hot, like it was the hottest uniform I had ever played in.
That's the hottest jersey we done played in. You ain't lying about that. And we
was something about it. So bad. Yeah, it was something about it that was a little off. And when it comes to just the closeness, I think you hit the nail on the head too, man. It was that welcoming attitude, but also I think it was because the best players didn't take themselves too seriously. They set the tone for what welcoming environment looked like. Like when I came into the locker room, I remember seeing guys like Jeff Owens, dudes who I had been watching play football, and AJ Green, et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, man, that's him. He's here. Or you see some of the guys who were on their way out, like Muhammad Massaquoi and Keelan and all them boys, and you're like, man, like I know these dudes from afar. And then to be able to meet them, and they weren't divas. And it just set a tone of, okay, everyone here is approachable. Most of these guys are actually going to go out of their way to try to help you be successful.
Exactly.
And also you were able to go into that grind together. I think a lot of the closeness comes from camp and from mat drills. When you have those times where you feel like you're going to die and you got to lean on your brother to make it through, it just builds a bond and a connection that just can't be broken.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that can't be understated. And just having that builds trust. Like, that you look to your right, you look to your left, and those guys are gonna lay it on the line for you, and you feel like you got to do the same. And I'm sure, Israel, you take all of those lessons and all those examples that you saw to your team, and Chris, I know you probably do that at Chick-fil-A with your team members and your coworkers, and you try to create that environment. And I think it's important. I think environment's important. We tell our kids all the time, encourage. Like, you can't create a state of fear of failure, because our kids, our kids aren't the best athletically. Okay. And our kids are young and inexperienced, and we live in a culture now where it's, you get beat on a route and everybody's laughing at you and posting you on social media. And we try to, we try to stand up for the guy that just got beat because he had the stones to get in there and get beat, right. Hey, I'm going up against somebody better than me. I'm probably going to get beat, and that's okay. I'm going to learn from it, and I'm going to beat him the next time. That builds competitive edge. That builds trust. Like, hey, I know that guy's a dog, right? He's going to get in there and he's going to fight. He may not win all the time, but he's going to get in there and he's going to scrap it up. He's going to mix it up. And I think that builds encouragement. I think guys see that. And, to me, they respect that, and our guys are starting to kind of see that. We've kind of gone from like, and high schoolers can be kind of immature too in that regard, where it's like they get frustrated and it's always like, offensive line, block, come on, guard, block, or, catch the ball, or, make a good throw. And, it's like, come on. All right. Encourage them and say, hey, let's get it next time, and figure out a way to help them instead of bashing them. And I think that's what, what I noticed. And Chris, I was actually a recruiting assistant. I worked for Coach Garner, awesome. I left right as Israel was coming in. So I left in 2007 and came to Nashville. I left after that 2007 season, came to Nashville in February of 2008. So I was there with Coach G back before Buttsmere was even renovated. I mean, I was in the old Buttsmere where it was like
the original.
Yeah. And they had just the original, and they had just, like when I was there, they had just renovated the main lobby, whereas like into the trophy room that probably Israel saw on his recruiting trip. And then Chris, you probably saw it transform into what it became for the later part of Rick's tenure. And then now it's a whole another deal. So, Chris, what about, transitioning from Coach Searles to Coach Friend, practice wise, just overall coaching philosophy wise? Was that a big transition? Was that what about those two guys that you liked, and what about their styles that contrasted, that you liked, disliked, all that stuff? What was basically the main differences in the two?
Yeah, they were night and day, honestly. And, I would be lying if I said I didn't like one more than the other. And y'all could probably kind of deduce who that is once I'm done with kind of giving my spiel here. But,
you
so Coach
have
Searles
a friend
recruited
in me. No pun intended.
Yeah, that's right. But, Coach Searles, he recruited me, and he had a style of coaching that I was familiar with. You know, I grew up in a military home. My coaches in high school employed a very similar tactic of putting you into a mental pressure cooker to see if you will rise to the top. Like, it was less about, you know, let me teach you this, let me instruct you. It was like, here's the answers to the test, and now go get the right answer, figure it out. And, you know, I'm going to put you in the toughest situations. And I do think that really helped build mental toughness. I think Coach Searles is a coach who you could either love or you hate. He would either destroy you and tear you down, or he would be one who could build you into a better version of yourself. I will say that's the positive part. But I will say he was not a teacher. He did not help you to better understand the bigger picture of why I needed to know what I needed to know. Right. It was more like, just know the answer. Like, you don't need to know all these extra, you know, philosophy and show your work and all this other kind of stuff. He was a math teacher. He was not a show your work teacher. He was a give me the right answer teacher. And Friend came in with the complete opposite philosophy. His mindset was, I want you to know why I'm telling you what to do, to where when things change and the environment's different and they come out with something completely different than what you anticipated, you can deduce and come up with a best guess if you don't know exactly what to do. And I think that served our team better, honestly. I don't know if Friend was the best recruiter. He'll probably tell you he's not the most charismatic guy. But, man, when I tell you, like, he was someone who you loved playing for. I loved playing for that man because he was country like me. And, like, the most of us, you know, we were all country. But he did not take himself too seriously. But he also tried to hold us to a standard of excellence. And, you know, he expected the older guys to lead by example. And he would try to push the guys who were younger and the lower classmen up to the same level as those guys who were ahead of them. So if I were to go off of coaching philosophy, if I were to ever become a coach, no chance I will. But if in a different life I did become a coach, I would have employed a lot more of Coach Friend's philosophy, because I felt like that helped empower us as players. I felt more like, you know what, we're playing for each other as an offensive line group in an offensive line room than we're playing for this coach when we were playing for Friend, because we all felt like we were in it together and we felt like we could problem solve together. And it just was a different environment that I felt was better suited for the group we had and just for me personally.
Absolutely. That's great points right there. Great. And Searles came in, I think, 2007. He was there right before I left. I went on a few recruiting trips. He's a little bit more charismatic than I think Friend is on the recruiting side of it. He's 100%. Pretty good on that side of it. And I've seen some of his practice stuff, and he's you got to have thick skin around him. You know, I can assure you that.
100%. And
I came in with.
Don't hear me saying any of this as he's a bad guy, because he's
definitely not. He's definitely not, and I know you. And I know you don't think he is. And I love Coach Searles as well. I think he's great, but you know, like anything else, you know, styles don't always match up, and that's okay.
That's right.
You know, they're not always most effective for everyone, and that's perfectly fine. You know, if it didn't work for you, that's fine. You know, I don't think he was a bad person. I don't think you think he's a bad person. So
100%.
Yeah,
I will say this. And I will say this. I do think he instilled a level of confidence in me, though, because even with his kind of pressure cooker mentality, I think he showed very early on that he believed in me. Like, he would throw me into those situations that he didn't my peers who were, you know, freshmen or redshirt freshmen. He would say, hey, I want you here. I want you doing this. I want you with the ones, and giving me those opportunities. And I really appreciated that, because he, you know, showed a level of confidence in me. And honestly, like, even given all the stuff that I just shared, I remember when he decided to leave, I was scared to death, because I was like, man, at least because I was coming off of a knee injury. I couldn't play football the same way. You know, my calf muscle was a third of the size it was before. I just didn't know if I'd come back. And I was like, man, at least Cyril's, I knew he knew what I could do. And I don't know if this new guy's going to care about what I could do before. Like, he might just see who I am now and say, you're trash. But thank God, Coach Friend, thank God, had seen my film, because I guess him being at UAB, he saw me being, you know, at Troupe County in West Georgia, and was like, I remember you, and I remember you being good. I just thought you were taller. And I remember he told me that when he first got there, and I was like, okay, I might be all right.
I thought you were taller. I've heard that all my life, but and I thought I was going to be taller. I thought I was going to be Shaq. I really did. You know, in seventh grade, I was towering over everybody. I thought I was going to be Shaq. I'm not. I stopped. Everybody else kept going. So, but I had the ability to grow a beard faster than anyone in my school.
I don't want to talk about it.
Israel, I will gladly trade beard growing speed with you.
Oh man,
gladly do that.
I would love to see it. One Coach Searles thing that I love to see is when he get mad and he grabbed that hat.
He threw that hat. Yeah.
Across the field. Man, I saw him hit Bean one day. Bean is just that. It's like Chris said. I saw him hit Bean from about 15 yards away. I said, Coach, that is impressive. He said, I know. And he just busted out laughing, man.
What did Bean do?
He was deadly accurate. He was deadly accurate with that hat.
I don't know what he did, but I'm talking about he threw it through about 15 people and it hit him dead in the face. Boom. I said, Coach, that good throw. He told me, I know, I won't never miss. And he didn't. He didn't miss that one time.
That's true. It's a true story. I'm not even lying to you. Truth is right. You're exactly right.
That's awesome. Now, Israel, do you do that on the field? Are you a hat thrower or visor thrower?
No, I'm a ball thrower. I throw balls.
Yeah. See,
because I always have one in my hand, or if it's near me, you know, I'm slinging. And I always give a warning shot. I missed on purpose the first time.
Mm-hmm.
I said that was a warning shot, and after that, I'm beaming people in the head left and right.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been a butt kicker before.
Oh man!
I walk up and kick you in the butt. I've definitely done some spurrier things where hat goes up in the air, play sheet goes off to the side. You know,
I do that from time when we're at practice. One day we were going against our defense. I just threw my whole script away. I said, all right, get this. I'm calling from hip. You know, because they had us pegged, because obviously we're going to give our script to the defense coach so they can kind of match up as we go. You know, but then they started audibling and changing stuff. I was like, you know what? I ain't doing this no more.
Yeah.
You know, and things like that. So I mean, it's great. I'm a pusher. So like today we had our OTA against Tift County, which by the way, shout out to Tyree West. I got to talk to him today.
2022 commit.
Our offensive line, they just weren't moving fast enough for me today, Chris. We had a big play, 25-yard play. You know, we're a tempo team, so they're supposed to get on the ball and roll, and they were walking. I done ran on the field, and I started pushing everybody. Go get on the ball. Yeah. I'm talking about it, and it's just one of those things where I get excited. They did their job. They did a great job, and they just stand there and look like they're confused. I'm like, no, you just did a good job. Go find the ball. Go.
Yeah. Ain't no walking between the lines. No walking between the lines. Exactly.
It's like, go. Like, let's go to work, you know. But, man, we're getting better. We're finally starting to trust each other now, you know. We're finally getting to that stage to where if somebody gets mad, you know, things like that. It's basically like when Bean used to get mad and everybody straighten up. That's basically what we're getting to.
You got to have that one guy.
That's what we're getting to.
That's right. That's right. I can't tell you how many times Bean would get mad at me in the midst of the game. Like, Ben Jones would tell me, hey, tell Bean to do this. And I would tell Bean to do this. And he would yell at me. He'd be like, Burnette, I know what to do. Don't be telling me what to do. And I'm like, man, all right, you got it. And 2 plays later, he was, I'm sorry. You know I love you.
So was it Ben setting you up too? A lot of times he puts you up to
I think he might have been, man. Looking back, he might have been setting me up. But no, honestly, Ben Jones.
He's a prankster. Seems like a prankster.
David Andrews are the 2 smartest football players I've ever been around, other than Aaron Murray. and I felt like he was just trying to orchestrate everything. So it was like in his nature. He's like, I know what everybody's doing, so I'm gonna make sure that you know that I know that you know what you need to do. So
Exactly. So yeah, that's awesome. We need to get Ben on. We need to get David. We need to get Boss on.
Yes.
We need to have the Rolodex of guys. And now that we got you on, maybe we can get that whole offensive line group and share some stories. And we need to get Brandon on at some point.
Yes.
You know, I'm friends with his older brother, so I just don't think he realizes that I've been reaching out to him, but he probably gets inundated with all that stuff. So
yeah.
Brandon, you have an open invitation.
He's famous, so he's
definitely famous.
He's famous. He's famous.
He's NFL famous.
Troupe knows.
Right?
Troupe knows.
Hey,
so.
they got their own golf line now, apparel. I was looking at the other day. I mean, they're doing some great things. So you got to catch them on the fly. And congratulations, they just had a baby and everything. So
okay,
trust me, we know dad life. So
Oh yeah.
It's one of them things.
Chris, if you haven't watched the Dad Pod, it's our first YouTube show.
Okay.
Go watch the Dad Pod. We share some dad stories. That was a couple of weeks ago, actually. I'm
gonna have to check that out. That sounds interesting. I love it.
Talk about your podcast, Upon Further Review.
Yeah. Under Further Review is really Brandon's brainchild, and he just decided to bring me along for the ride. It's really just sports, culture, and all things in between. If anyone who's watching this has watched an episode before, you would know that we don't take it as seriously. We're not as official as this. We don't have the PTI set up. Like we're literally sitting in Brandon's man cave with some decent cameras and lighting, and my wife is the director, and we're talking about everything. We're talking about our faith, talking about what happened in the NFL, what happens in college football, what happens in the NBA. Like we're talking about everything, and along the way, we just try to bring the audience along for the ride, include their questions, their thoughts, and just have fun with it. And it's one of the funnest things that I've had the pleasure and joy of being able to do. Season 1 ended back in April. We're on a break now. Not exactly sure when season 2 will come back, but in the meantime, just so y'all are aware, and can see like when updates come and when we'll be back. You can find us on Twitter at UFR Pod. You can find us on Instagram at Under Further Review Podcast. And then also we're on all the, the traditional podcast apps and also on YouTube. That's kind of where we're pushing the majority of our content is on YouTube, because we I think try to act like we have our own TV show. So you can check us out there for sure. But, Under Further Review, we love what we do, and, hopefully people enjoy it along the way as well.
Well, there you have it. Under Further Review. If you haven't caught them, catch them. You still have a chance to get in on the fun, catch them, catch us, and then that can be a part of your podcast rotation. I know you guys out there listening, you have a podcast rotation when you sit down to work. Listen to us, listen to them, and everything will be great. And we'll have to do a double here pretty soon, where you and Brandon are on with the two of us, and we may have to go home and home too as well. Come on your channel. And,
I like that.
You guys join the PTI set. So, but Chris, I want to thank you for coming on. We're gonna wrap this thing up, but I enjoyed having you. Enjoyed hearing all the stories, the breakdowns, things like that. We need to do this more often. It's always good to have a good offensive lineman on the show. You guys are the best people in the world. So I tell my guys that I coach offensive line, and those guys are a different breed, and I love it. And so like I said, we appreciate having you on.
Yeah, hey, you said it, not me. But no, it's my pleasure, and I'm grateful to be on here with you, Corey and Troupe. Man, it's always good to see your face, hear your voice. It's been too long, so just grateful to be able to join y'all for sure.
I know we're old men now, man. We're old.
Yeah, man.
We're old enough.
Great, the gray beards.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there slowly.
You're the gray patchy beard.
Yeah.
So
I'm the gray-haired guy.
Yeah, no grays for me yet, but my hairline is definitely it's going back a little bit. So I'm just trying to hold on to it as long as I can.
I got a little coming in on the sides here. I got a little salt in the pepper there.
Yeah.
Oh man.
There's a few grains of salt in there. So, and if you listen to the Dad Pod, you'll know why.
I want to tell Josh Brooks, Josh, just by the way, I ain't forgot. I just want to let you know that me and Chris, we got our own setup, man. And I hadn't seen TK on nothing yet. And I'm still upset about the whole Topgolf picture.
Yeah.
I don't think I forgot about that.
That's right. That's right.
I'm never gonna live that down. They look all happy and everything. They're smiling.
I know, man. They living their best life, man.
And I'm looking up like, so I was like, now you just told us that we were your favorite, but you smiling with DK now. I just don't like it. I don't like it at all.
That's right. That's right. I guess we just missed the invite.
But yeah, man, we love Josh.
He sent the invite to your old house.
I was checking the mail every day. I was looking outside. He must have, because I didn't get one.
he sent it to Valdosta. No, he sent it to Valwood, and they ripped it up. That's what happened.
Well, they probably. I wouldn't doubt that whatsoever.
Yeah, sent it to Valwood. So, all right, fellas. Well, again, it was a great show. We are the Bleav in Georgia Dogs podcast on the Bleav Podcast Network, brought to you by betonline.ag. Catch us here each and every week. For Israel Troupe and Chris Burnett, I'm Corey Burton. We thank you for listening. Be sure to like, be sure to subscribe. You can see the scroll right down below. If you can see my finger, you probably can't. That's okay. But Bleav in Dogs on social media, Troupe Star 28, Chris Burnett 68. Follow him and his blue check mark. Upon Further Review podcast, follow all of that. And catch us here next week. And as always, Chris, let's get a go Dogs from you. All right. As always, go Dogs.
Go Dogs. I love it. Thank y'all.
Yeah, absolutely.